Alrighty, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today on our Tuesday session for our college fair. We are glad to have you here, and for those of you who are watching the recording later, um, thanks for joining us and after the fact and watching the recording. Today we have Dr. Vera Kelly from Belmont Abbey College here in sunny North Carolina, although tomorrow we're supposed to get 2 to 3 inches of snow, so we'll see how that goes. Um, and Dr. Baracali is going to talk to you guys about Belmont Abbey College and specifically their honors college, which I can tell you all from personal experience, well, semi-personal experience, that it's a great program. My daughter went through the honors college. She was in their inaugural class. And then her older brother, my middle child, went to Belmont Abbey before they had the honors college. He went through their honors program and graduated from there. And both of them very much enjoyed their experience at Belmont Abbey. So I am glad to have Dr. Farrakali on here to talk to you guys about Belmont Abbey College and the honors college particularly. Before we get into that, I am going to get us started off with short 10-15 minute presentation on what you should look for in a college. And yesterday I talked about kind of what the world says we should look for in a college, or maybe it's less of what they say we should look for and just more of what they talk about looking for. It's more just descriptive than it is prescriptive. I was just kind of describing what people are saying. And so yesterday, what it kind of boiled down to was that it's to help you participate in the rat race of getting a good job, making a lot of money, buying a nice house, having a family so that your kids can get a good education, so that they can go to college, get a degree, get a good job, buy a nice house, have a nice family, and then their kids can, and it just kind of goes around in this circle. And nobody's actually talking about, in that scenario, most of those people aren't really concerned or aren't talking about or aren't asking the question, but what's the real good that comes from college? Like, yes, it can help you get a job. Yes, it can give you a certain level of knowledge that will help you in life, but surely there's more to it than that. Surely it is a good in and of itself. And so that's what I want to talk about today. What is it in and of itself good for? Um, is it possible that one maybe should go to college, maybe should enroll in the Belmont Abbey Honors College, for instance, because what the school is going to give you is worth it for its own sake, even if you don't get a job doing that, or even if you don't get a job after that. And I think I'm going to suggest, yeah, you're going to get an education that's worth it, even if you don't get a job in that particular field. Um, because I think what every human being needs, and I'm telling you, let me say this as a side note. The world has gone mad. Um, it's almost like it's upside down. The I literally saw something online this morning that suggested that people should only go to college for jobs, and the only people that should go to college for something more than a job are the elites. It's like it was like I got transported back into, I don't know, medieval France, and you should only go to school, you should only get trained in your job, farming or something, right? And only the kings and the princes and the nobility should get a job that, or should go get an education that is more than just for work. And the I just don't think that's true. I just think that you folks right here, right now, on this call or watching this recording are way too capable to be reduced to something less than less than what what you're capable of. So what is it that you're capable of? I think you're capable of so much more. I think you're capable of wisdom and virtue. And that's what I think is what you should consider to be the real benefit of college. Yes, you want to be able to support yourself and your family. Yes, you want to be able to make enough money to do that, and um, and to do that wisely. But more importantly, you want to be wise. You want to be able to make good decisions, understand how the world works, and live in it in a way that honors God, that honors your family, that honors you, that honors your children, your neighbor, and you want to be virtuous along the way. And a good college can help you in those two things. A good education can help you in those two things. In the end, what it's really going to boil down to is how you receive it. You choose, right? Dr. Varicalli and the folks at the Honors College can put all the stuff they want in front of you that will guide you and lead you and draw you toward wisdom and virtue. But in the end, you have to you have to receive it. You have to choose to act on it, um, and be grateful for it. So it's not a guarantee that anybody will go through something like this and come out wiser and virtuous on the other side, but it surely is an open possibility to every single person. Um, and so I want to think of the real benefits of college. Those other things are possible. The things I talked about yesterday about getting a good job, about having a degree that proves you have a certain minimum level of knowledge in a certain area, even finding a spouse. All of those things are possible. Those are all things that do happen, can happen at college. But the real benefit of college is that it gives you the opportunity, especially an honors college like Belmont Abbey, it gives you the opportunity to grow in wisdom and virtue. And and look, there's this idea. If you think about the week, right? What do we do Monday through Friday? Typically, we work, right? If you're younger and you're in school, those are your school days. Or if you're homeschooled, those are the days you homeschool. And Monday through Friday is all the work stuff. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, it's freer time. You have more free time. You have time to go hang out with your pals, play sports, go to the movies, go to the mall. Do kids still do that? I don't even know. Um, and just hang out. In and as an adult, that same thing is it's still kind of true, right? Even adults think of Monday through Friday as a day that I have to work, and Saturdays and Sundays are it's my time, and those are the times that I can do stuff for myself. Maybe it's stuff around the house, yard work or cleaning. Maybe it's hanging out with my family. Maybe it's going for a hike or going to the movies or whatever. Um, but the thing is, so young or old, Monday through Fridays are typically the days we work. Saturdays and Sundays are the day that we rest. In the modern world, that's perceived like this: I work all week, and then on the weekends I rest, so that I can have energy to go back to work and work. In the ancient world, in the classical world, if you think about classical education, in the classical world, it was the flip. I worked so that I could have rest, so that I could have time to do leisurely things. They would refer to it as leisure. I could do leisurely things like read a good book or a great book, enjoy a favorite poem, contemplate philosophical ideas, worship God, contemplate theological ideas, um, engage in contemplative discussions with my friends, with my neighbors over a meal, toast the good things of life, enjoy God's great gifts. Those I worked all week long so that I could have the resources I needed to be able to participate in leisure. Now we don't think of it as leisure, we think of it as rest. I rest so that I can have the energy to get through the work week again. And that's part of what this is about. College is college. What college should be is a place that you go that teaches you how to engage in leisure properly. The difficulty that we have is that wisdom and virtue are not just ideas that you can put in front of someone, not even adults who don't have it. You can't just make somebody wise and virtuous by having them read the right books or become aware of the right ideas because we're sinners, because of the fall, because of how much the world distracts us. Or if you think about it in this way, if this is a way that maybe your church tradition talks about, of how the demons are afflicting us, how the demons are tempting us. Um, there's all of this stuff going on in life that distracts me and or that distracts people. And um, in the ancient world and in the medieval world, they referred to this as they thought about the soul kind of having like different parts or different faculties. And in English, an easy way to name these in English is to think of the soul having a part that's like the belly, and a part that's like the chest, and a part that is like the mind. And the belly is the thing that wants to be comfortable. It doesn't want to have to work too hard. It doesn't want to be strained or stressed. It doesn't want to experience pain or anything uncomfortable. It just wants to have pleasure and comfort. And so if the belly is in control of your life, the belly will always choose the most comfortable thing, which might be food, it might be drink, it might be just avoiding work, laziness, sleep, like excessive sleep, especially. Because food, drink, sleep, none of those things are bad. It's when that's all you care about. You live for those things. Your soul only cares about those things. And the soul can be like that if the belly is in control of it. And so um, the other thing that the belly might pursue is money, because money makes all those other things possible. If I have lots of money, I can sleep all day and nobody can stop me. If I have lots of money, I can eat as much as I want, I can drink as much as I want, I can play as much as I want, I can avoid work as much as I want. And so the belly pursues those things that make pleasure most possible. Um, the chest, if the chest is in control, the chest wants honor. But if the chest doesn't know what honor is, then the chest will interpret that as power, the ability to control people or the world, the things around it. And um, and so then you have this person that's driven by power and control over others. And those are not those are not healthy ways to live. The healthy way to live, the way God designed us to live, is to live a life of wisdom and virtue. To for leisure not to be the avoidance of work and the ability to sit around binge watching TV shows or video games or whatever. Um, Leisure is this time to worship God and to contemplate the things, the ideas, the truths that God has given us. But if we're driven by our belly or our chest, we don't use leisure. We look for rest instead. If I can use those two terms as a distinction, I know rest is good, right? God, the seventh day, God rested, um, but we use those as a way of avoiding work and avoiding discomfort. The the problem is if you take somebody who's driven by his belly or by his chest and you put truth in front of those people, you put wisdom and virtue, ideas about wisdom and virtue in front of them. What the belly will do is the belly will use those ideas to get more power for itself, to get more comfort, more pleasure for itself. Rather than actually pursuing wisdom and virtue, it'll manipulate wisdom and virtue to get what it wants. So what we have to do is we have to think about how to train ourselves so that the belly's not the boss of me, chest is not the boss of me, but the mind is my boss. The mind is the thing telling me guiding me how to live in this world properly, to pursue wisdom and virtue, and to pursue leisure. And then the mind will actually, if the mind's in charge, the mind will actually take care of the chest and the belly so that the belly does get the minimum comforts that it needs, and the chest does get the honor that it needs, but not allowing them to be in charge. So it's more like being ruled by a good king instead of an awful tyrant. The belly can be a tyrant, the chest can be a tyrant, but the mind is a good king, a wise and virtuous king, because it pursues wisdom and virtue and leisure. Um, and what the good college does is it offers those sorts of opportunities. It spends a lot of time putting in the good classes. It'll spend a lot of time putting ideas and books about wisdom and virtue in front of you, but it also creates opportunity for training the belly, right? So sometimes you have to get up early in the morning to take a class. That's training the belly. Getting up out of bed early and not sleeping in all morning is training the belly to say that attending this class and pursuing the things of the mind is more important than the extra 3 hours of sleep that my belly wants. um, or intramural sports, or opportunities for service in the communities. Working at food shelter or food banks or shelters, things like that are all ways that the college is kind of creating an atmosphere for you to be able to tell your belly or your chest, no, we're going to do this wise and virtuous thing instead. We're going to talk more tomorrow um, about how to attain wisdom and virtue, but this is just kind of a starting point for it. The initial conversation for that. I'm going to stop here, and we can think about how to attain those in the next call. And at this point, I want to welcome Dr. Veracali. Tom, thank you for joining us.
Dr. Bianco, thank you so much for having me. Everyone, we are so blessed to have the CiRCE Institute. Belmont Abbey's had a wonderful partnership with the CiRCE Institute. Last month in January, we had over 30 schools come to Belmont Abbey, 30 high schools come for a classical education job fair that the CiRCE Institute put on. And we hope to have this every year because we want Belmont Abbey College to be the hub of classical education in the American South. We also hosted the CiRCE Forma Conference, the Forma, which is the journal, the academic journal for the CiRCE, and it was wonderful to have such prestigious speakers come to the Abbey. So everyone, I'm here today to speak about the college that I love, the college I went to school as an undergraduate at, Belmont Abbey College. Belmont Abbey College, which is the Catholic College of the American South. So in 2 months, we celebrate our 149th birthday. A monk and two students came off a train from Richmond, Virginia to Belmont, North Carolina to start Belmont Abbey College on April 21st, 1876. And there has been class ever since at Belmont Abbey College. So currently, Belmont Abbey is a school of about 1,300 undergraduates. We just built two new dorms, St. Gertrude and St. Gregory. We call them the Greats. And so we are in the process of expanding. While many small liberal arts colleges are closing down or they're truncating, Belmont Abbey has grown 400, 500 students since I graduated from the Abbey 14, 15 years ago. And Belmont Abbey College has over 30 different majors at Belmont Abbey, ranging from accounting and biochemistry and biology to computer science, data analytics, economics, elementary ed, English, finance, great books, which would be the honors college major, history, human services, marketing, mathematics, motorsports management, nursing, philosophy, politics, PPE, or politics, philosophy, and economics, psychology, sports management, supply chain management, theology, and then a double major in theology and philosophy. At Belmont Abbey, we have very small class sizes. We only have one classroom that can fit more than 30 people. And so you're guaranteed to have intimate classes where the professor will know your name after a week or two, and where you get to know the names of your students in each class. What makes Belmont Abbey so unique is it is a small liberal arts Catholic college that is dedicated to the study of the great books of the Western canon, which we believe instills wisdom, that it is an invitation for us to reflect upon the great perennial questions of human existence. What is God's purpose for me? Why is there evil in the world? What is justice? Who should rule? How should one live one's life? These are the great questions that animate the curriculum of Belmont Abbey College, and in particular, its honors college. So if Belmont Abbey is a college of 1,300 students, the honors college, our great books college, is about 130 students. We had a freshman class of about 40 students, and we would like a freshman class this fall of about 50. The 5-year goal of the Honors College is to have a 200-person Honors College where 50 students come in each year. We're only 7 years old. Dr. Bianco's daughter was in our very first Honors College class, and we hope that you consider being part of the 10th, 11th, or 12th graduating class of the Honors College. The Honors College has a different core curriculum from standard Belmont Abbey. If it takes about 40 classes to graduate college, 25 of those 40 would be your Honors College classes. And then after that, you are able to major in one of Belmont Abbey's traditional majors, ranging from business and finance to philosophy and theology, or you can actually major in great books. Belmont Abbey is unique insofar as you can have a primarily great books education, but be able to major in finance. We're one of the few schools to have motorsports management, if you like NASCAR. We have a nursing program that is becoming very popular very quickly, and several of our honors students are nursing majors, just like several are philosophy or theology majors. If you take extra classes in the honors curriculum, you can major in great books. And if you really wanted to, you could go sort of full TAC and do all 122 credits in the great books. The rule of thumb for our curriculum is that the first year is dedicated to the study of the Greeks and the Romans. And this follows the traditional Catholic argument of studying philosophy first and then theology. So we will have classes on Homer and Virgil, Plato, Greek histories, Aristotle, and Euclidean geometry. And then in addition to that, you are required to do 6 credits of either Latin or Greek. In your sophomore year, you would have your first class on the Bible. You would have a class on St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas. And you would engage in the trivium sequence, trivium 1, which will center on logic and Aristotle's organon. In your second semester of your sophomore year, you would study the moderns or the early moderns. So you would take a class on early modern philosophy, a class on the American founding, and then a second class on the trivium, particularly an emphasis on rhetoric. In your junior year, you would take classes in early modern philosophy of the 19th and 20th century, a class on Shakespeare, and a class on economics. In your second semester of your junior year, we return to the Christians so that the Christians get the final say, because the Christians win, right? We are the church triumphant, and therefore we demonstrate it in our curriculum. And so you study scripture again. You have the opportunity of reading more Aquinas and Augustine. There's a class on modern Christian classics, reading thinkers like Kierkegaard or Cardinal Newman or Saint Edith Stein or Pope Benedict. And then in your senior year, there is the ability to grapple with the great questions of the 21st century while addressing those by reading ancient, medieval, and modern texts. So we address questions like, what does it mean to be an American? Why do countries exist? Is the role of technology neutral on our souls? Or does technology affect the human condition? Is there a movement to history? Where do rights come from? What is universally true and consistent? And then what does legitimate change look like over time? What does marriage hold for the 21st century? Or what does the 21st century hold for marriage? The Honors College has very small classes, usually between about 10 and 20 students. We sit around a table and we engage in Socratic seminar. Now, admittedly, every professor has a different definition of what Socratic seminar is, and Socratic seminar looks different from teacher to teacher, but you're not supposed to be lectured at for 75 minutes at a time. Class is supposed to be participatory, and even though the professor leads conversation, students are expected to read the text, come with the text to class, and be able to make a coherent argument rooted in solid textual analysis. Seminars are fun because I get to see good friends just go at it in seminar. Oftentimes, it's those who are most friendly to each other who go at it the most. And so we do have some heated exchanges, but it is all within the context of charity and humility, the desire to know, not out of vainglory, but in order to glorify God. There are several perks about being in the Honors College, but I think the most important selling point of the Honors College, in addition to its curriculum, in addition to professors who will care about your soul, would be the students. The students of the Honors College love God. They love the great books. And when I have coffee with them in the cafeteria, or if I walk with them along Perimeter Road, I'm always struck by how they are able to integrate Plato and Aristotle, St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas, Dante and Shakespeare with their favorite movies, their music, their romantic relationships, their workout routines, their relationship with God, so that the study of these books is not studied out of mere antiquarian interest, but out of a genuine desire to address the perennial questions of human existence. There are a couple of perks that come with being in the Honors College. The first would be a scholarship. All honors students receive a $9,000 scholarship that is renewable up to 4 years, so long as you maintain a 3.25 GPA. If you're out of state, you might be able to be eligible for a 1,000 out-of-state grant, so you might get 10,000 a year. Tuition at the Abbey is very, very affordable. It's 21.5, affordable for a private school. But the idea would be that the scholarship would make the tuition at Belmont Abbey comparable to in-state tuition at your state school. In addition to the scholarship, we have a variety of cultural events. This semester, I bought 100 tickets to see Wagner's Ring. So we're going to downtown Charlotte to the Belk Theater to listen to Wagner. And then we're Patriots in the Honors College, so we watch baseball games. We're going to go see the Gastonia Ghost Peppers in late April. And the point of this is to expose our students to the finer things of life, but also, as Dr. Bianco said, the purpose of our life is leisure, and work exists only so that we can be at rest. And going to the symphony, watching baseball games are terrific acts of leisure. Last semester, we saw a beautiful rendition of C.S. Lewis's The Screwtape Letters. And in the past, we've seen symphonies by Mozart and Mendelssohn, Brahms and Tchaikovsky. Every other year, we see Handel's Messiah. And these events are free, minus any parking costs. They're part of the honors budget, so that you develop an appreciation for the grandeur that exists in music and in the arts and in the quadrivium more broadly. At the conclusion of your sophomore year, we have a beach retreat at Hilton Head Island, where we rent 2 houses a block away from the beach, one for the guys, one for the girls. And we read and discuss for about 4 or 5 hours a day Shakespeare's Tempest. We literally have a beach retreat for the Tempest. And so we have about 2 seminars a day where we engage in line by line analysis of the play. And then outside of that, students are free to swim and enjoy the island. There's the opportunity for mass in the morning, a rosary walk in the evening. The guys cook for the girls cook for the guys, and you'd be surprised sometimes the guys win. The trick is to cook something more simple and just nail it, which tends to be the guys' strategy there. But it's a lovely capstone to being halfway done with college. At the conclusion of your junior year in the month of June, you have the ability to study abroad in Ireland for 4 weeks. We study medieval Irish history and contemporary Irish literature, so St. Columba and James Joyce. Home base for us is Limerick, Ireland, but we will explore the entirety of the island, visiting museums in Dublin, going on pub crawls with the professors, and just appreciating one of the most beautiful spots and one of the most culturally important parts of England. I mean, the Irish are going to kill me for that. One of the most important cultural spots of Europe, because the Irish monks in the 5th and 6th century are responsible for much of the preservation of the Latin texts that we know and love today. And that is the Honors College. It is this college that is dedicated to a love of God and to a love of learning. And if you do like to read, if you like to pray, I really recommend that you consider Belmont Abbey College. It's true that I've talked a lot about its Catholic identity, and the Catholic identity of Belmont Abbey is palpable. It is a real Catholic college, not a fake one like most Catholic colleges are. But it is also an ecumenical college. Belmont Abbey as a whole is only 50% Catholic. 50% of the Abbey comes from a different Christian tradition. Belmont Abbey was the first Catholic college to invite the Reverend Billy Graham in the 1960s. When the monks came down to Belmont, there were only 800 Catholics in the entire state. And so the monks are used to being around people of a different denomination. But for those of you who are Catholic, I do want to emphasize this is an authentically Catholic environment. About 80 to 85% of the students in the Honors College are Catholic. And there are crucifixes in every room. There is daily mass offered, and everyone, Catholic or non-Catholic, is invited to pray the Liturgy of the Hours with the monks every day, which they do. If you are interested in the Honors College, but you're not ready to apply for college, if you're not yet a high school senior, I strongly recommend coming to our high school summer camp, SCOLA. And in the year 2025, our SCOLA camp is going to be from July 6th to July 12th. The theme will be on wisdom and foolishness, and we will be reading Plato and Aristotle, Dante, Aquinas. We always do a Shakespearean play. We have seminars in the morning, and then the afternoons are dedicated to fun, leisurely activities. The highlight usually occurs on Thursday, where we go whitewater rafting. We will hike South Mountain one day. We might go to a baseball game. We might go to downtown Charlotte. Will be an opportunity to pray Vespers with the monks and to meet the Benedictine monks at Belmont Abbey. And so it is a wonderful time. It's an excellent opportunity to gauge whether or not Belmont Abbey is the right fit for you. And many of our SCOLA students do come to Belmont Abbey because of the really wonderful time that they have. For any of the parents who are watching, we also have a master's in classical and liberal education. We've partnered with the CiRCE Institute so that credit that comes from the apprenticeship can be applied to the master's program. So if you do have any apprenticeship credits, you might be able to get your master's degree online within a year. And if you are interested in the master's program, the contact there would be Dr. Christine Bohr, or you can email me, Dr. Thomas Faracalli. When in doubt, just email honorscollege@bac.edu. And Dr. Bianco, that's my pitch, and I'm pretty willing to handle some questions from the audience now, or from you, for that matter.
Sounds great. I'm glad you made it and were able to give that. I was hoping you would touch on the Scola thing because I know that's the summer, that week-long summer thing that is very popular. I know a lot of kids, a lot of young people that have done it and fallen in love with Belmont Abbey through it. So that's a really great program that you guys have there, just to help young people get a taste of what Belmont Abbey might be like, what the Honors College will be like, and
And for the students watching, I think this is true of most of the colleges, that if you are interested in a college, please go to their summer program. But Belmont Abbey, there's something very special, very holy about Belmont Abbey. It's a remarkably beautiful campus. The buildings are beautiful, and the monks just exude a real love of Christ. Every student is a guest on the monastic lands. And in the rule of St. Benedict, it states that the monks are to treat all guests like Christ. So if you want to be treated like Christ by 14 monks, come on down to Belmont, North Carolina, to Belmont Abbey College.
that's right. Very good. Well, do any of you guys have questions for Dr. Veracali?
All right, so Jeremy Romero asks, what job opportunities does studying the great books have? It's a great question. So if someone were to just do the great books without gravitating to the traditional major, the most obvious job prospect is teaching in a classical school. When we hosted the job fair, or when CiRCE hosted the job fair at Belmont Abbey 3 weeks ago, our students were shocked by how many job openings there are. Because classical education is booming, it was not as popular as it was 20 years ago, and schools are being established every year. If you have a solid foundation in the great books, if you know your trivium, and if you know your quadrivium, there are going to be schools throughout the country who will fight for you. Who will fight for you because they want you. We have about 18 graduating seniors this year, and about half of them already have job offers because many many people who are teaching education were not taught classically, and school administrators are hungering to find men and women who are versed in that classical tradition. Outside of teaching classically, classical education really does prepare you for basically everything. And that is because it teaches you how to think, teaches you to engage with a variety of different and opposing ideas. Um, Many college graduates struggle with basic grammatical errors. College did not increase their composition, but when you attend a classical grade book school, you write better than 95% of the population. Your grammar is better than 95% of the population. Your comportment, um, your gravitas is better than 95% of the population, precisely because when you read and think about books that deal with the soul, you are constantly thinking about how one perfects oneself further and further. At the Abbey, we've had great books major go to law school um, and graduate school. We have several students who have entered into business, working in small businesses. I have one student who's working for Vanguard, even though he was a great books major. He's working at Vanguard because Vanguard was able to train him in financial planning. And also, Jeremy, the unique thing about Belmont Abbey is because you can major in business or financing or nursing or criminal justice or psychology, you will have a major that will also prepare you for those job opportunities in that field. So that our business department has many pipelines in the city of Charlotte. And so if you are worried about, if you do want to enter into business, you can get your great book score while majoring in business. What else? What else?
Yeah, more questions. While they're writing, I'll just say that's well said, Dr. Baracali. I remember reading an article in a business magazine, well, probably 10 years ago, that was written by the CEO of a company who said that if he had a potential employee apply for a job and that employee had studied Latin, he would always hire that person over anybody else
Mhm.
because he knows what Latin does to the mind to help that person be a good thinker and therefore be able to apply that good thinking to business. And I was just shocked that there was somebody in the business world who was thinking that way. And from what I understand, that's just continuing. Like more and more businesses are seeing a great books education and or a Latin education, studying the Latin or Greek or whatever as is actually, well, what you said, right? Better communicators, better comportment, more gravitas, um, just an ability to present themselves in a way that exceeds um, a majority of the population around them.
And if I can add to that, I think one of the special things of the Honors College is the culture. I teach at 8 o'clock every morning. Because I'm an administrator, I want to teach in the morning so that I can do all the administrative, less important things in teaching after I hit the most important thing of the day. And um, I just have to say that I'm shocked by all my students are in class by 7:56. And so the Honors College instills this virtue of punctuality, which is another virtue that is beginning to become not as common with all the technology and with all the remote communication, punctuality is a virtue that it's a very minor virtue. It's not a moral virtue, but it's an excellence that employers often don't see exemplified, and our honors students do exemplify that. Our honors students also create a culture where our students challenge each other to read. One of the most beautiful sights you'll see at Belmont Abbey is a bunch of students under a tree reading the Oresteia to each other because they will enact the plays to help them memorize and help understand these great plays. All right, guys, what else? Demonstrate some courage. Try and stump me. Try and stump me. Can you study 2 degrees at the same time? Yes. So if you do the 78 credit track at Belmont Abbey in the Honors College, you would definitely be able to major and minor in something else. And then depending upon the major, you might be able to double major. You might have the opportunity to double major in great books and then in something more akin to what is quote unquote a practical field. So yes, you can take 2 degrees at the same time. And then at the Abbey, we have a 4+1 program where you can get your master's degree a year after your undergraduate degree so that you can graduate at the age of 22 and 23, a master of a particular field. What else? So several of our seniors are considering entering into the Masters in Classical and Liberal Education so that they can have the degree before they go up for tenure at their high school. So Wendy asks, what exactly is an honors college? That's a great question because several different colleges have honors colleges, and every honors college is different. An honors college is a more academically advanced and rigorous curricula than a non-honors college. So for example, at Belmont Abbey in general, the core curriculum would center on textbooks. In the Honors College at Belmont Abbey, we study primarily great text, primary sources. And we, for the most part, shun textbooks because we're afraid of the bias that might be embedded in a textbook. We want students to think out the mathematical problem via Euclid, or we want students to find the definition of a key concept on their own and be able to challenge how a certain author had defined something rather than taking a definition on for authority. Now, most honors colleges at different schools are not as robust as Belmont Abbey, and they are not as rooted in the great books. But our honors college has a coherent curriculum studied on the great texts from Homer and Plato all the way to the great novels of the 20th century and everything in between. So what is the ratio of out-of-state students to local students? Belmont Abbey, well, for the Honors College, I just looked this up. We have 125 students, 47 of them are from North Carolina. So more than half of the honor students are from North or South Carolina. I would say another 25% is from the American South, Florida, Georgia, Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina. And then we have about 25% of students who are from all other parts of the country. We have a bunch of New Englanders and New Yorkers. We have 2 or 3 people from California. We have one girl from Washington State. And so there is a diversity in the Honors College. Belmont Abbey as a whole follows the same plan. I just think Belmont Abbey in general relies more on North Carolina than the Honors College does. What else? What else?
How many of the students are students that came to you because of their family, their parents' relationship, their connection to CiRCE?
Yes, so CiRCE is our biggest recruiter. We have about 5 to 12 students a year who come to the Honors College because of CiRCE.
Oh,
And that number does seem to be growing each year. 5 would be a pretty low year for us. And we love CiRCE students. So, please, please, please apply. What was the second part of your question, Dr. Bianco?
that was you answered it. I was just wondering how many of them were connected to CiRCE.
Yeah.
Because if the I mean it was a little bit playful because I was just curious how many people were have come your way from us through us. But I think it's actually an interesting question for the people attending or watching
Oh,
because
absolutely.
there's probably some like-mindedness there that they might have.
One of the signs of a very healthy college is that younger siblings want to go to the college that their older siblings went to. The older sibling had a fun time, had a demanding but rewarding time at the Abbey. And so there's this one family of 11 where 8 of the 11 children went to Belmont Abbey. There are several families where at least 4 or 5 um, family members went to the Abbey. And so parents tend to trust the Abbey. I think the kindness of the monks and the staff and the students puts people at ease when they visit.
Hmm. 2 of my 3 went.
For Wendy, do you know the ratio of traditional to homeschool students? It's a great question. I would say about half of the honor students were homeschooled at one point in their life. Most of them would not have been homeschooled K through 12, but they would have been homeschooled either for high school or elementary school. Um, and so homeschooling is bread and butter at the Honors College. And I would say that more than half of the honor students, as they think of education, the honor students want to homeschool their kids. They're imaginary kids, but they're future kids down the line. One of the things that I really do like about our students is that they are thinking about their vocation, what God wants them to do after they graduate. And I'm very happy to say that several honor students wind up marrying other honor students. I think there were 4 weddings over the summer in 2024 of one honor student marrying another honor student. So it's in the ether. No guarantees. I can't make any guarantees, but it is out there. We do have men and women who discern religious life. And then we do have a close relationship with the minor seminary and the Diocese of Charlotte as well. So when we think of students who've been homeschooled versus traditional, um, about half of them were homeschooled for at least a few years of their life, but the majority of the students would have gone to a traditional high school. But we love homeschool students, and trust me, I want more of them. What else? What else? Do you have a program for international students? Yes. Belmont Abbey currently has we currently have students from over 17 different countries. I learned that statistic a few weeks ago. And so we do have, we have sponsored students across seas in the past. If you are an international student, you have to apply very early. You should apply if you are thinking about school next fall. You should apply in September or October for visa approval and things like that. And then additionally, we're trying to build programs where we send our students to foreign countries. So we do have the Ireland trip that we do every year. And then sometimes we partner with St. Vincent's College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, to bring students to Rome.
You still do Milan?
Oh, we haven't done Milan in a few years. We haven't done Milan in a few years. But if enough people want it, dot, dot, dot.
Yeah, because my son went to Milan for a semester when he was a junior, I think.
Okay. These are great questions. Keep them coming. I'm having fun. So as we get a couple more questions, I'll talk about the admissions process. So you will have to first apply to Belmont Abbey College, and that is the traditional application where they will accept, your transcript and your test scores, whether it's from the CLT, we love the CLT at the Honors College, or the ACT or the C8 or the SAT. But then you'll also have a second application for the Honors College that takes about 15 to 20 minutes to fill out, where you are going to give about 1 paragraph answers to questions like, what's your favorite book? What hobbies do you have? Who is the most influential person in your life? We're interested in your character. In fact, as I was telling some students at Scholarship Weekend, the most important thing for entry into the Honors College is not your GPA. It is whether or not you are a teachable high school student, whether or not you want to learn, whether or not you have a desire to learn. Because of the intimacy that exists between and among the students, we want to make sure that we only accept people of goodwill, people who won't dominate conversations, people who won't gossip about others, people who won't infringe in any way the pursuit of the love of learning. We want people to imitate Christ in the Honors College. And that's what I look for in our students. And so while on the one hand, we do want a student to have over a 3.5 GPA, I will occasionally accept people who have below a 3.5. And so if you're below a 3.5, email me, see if you should apply. If in doubt, apply. But the thing that will get you into the Honors College is not the GPA, it's the character. It's your character. That's why after you do the 15-minute electronic application for the Honors College, you'll do a 30-minute Zoom interview with me where we'll discuss literature and your life goals and who your heroes are and what type of man or woman you hope to be as you continue to grow. All right. I gave that beautiful speech and I don't have any more questions. So feel free, ask, type a good one. No one stumped me yet. So, okay. Wendy, thank you. Thank you for being such a team player here. We have our MVP of the day here. So what book or which author in the Great Books curriculum would you say is the most impactful on the students? Great question. Father Matlock teaches Scripture 1 and 2. And there's the old joke about Catholics that they don't read the Bible. And, they'll read Plato and Aristotle in high school, but they won't read the actual Bible. And we have a 2-part sequence on the Bible at the Abbey, where the first part would essentially be Genesis to the end of the histories. And then the second part goes over some of the wisdom literature, and then the Gospels and St. Paul, with a heavy emphasis on St. Paul. And like clockwork, the book that people speak about the most is the Bible. Um, whether it's revisiting it for the umpteenth time or reading Second Kings for the first time, our students are developing a deep, deep love for Scripture. And this is one of the reasons why we're seeing a renaissance in ancient Greek at Bellman Abbey, that we have students who are taking Greek, not to translate Aristotle and Plato, but to read the New Testament in Greek. That's one of their personal goals. Aside from Scripture, the four most important thinkers in the Honors College are Plato, Aristotle, Augustine, and Aquinas. They are the four cornerstone thinkers. So for Plato in our curriculum, you will read over several different courses: the Apology, the Crito, the Euthyphro, the Meno, the Republic, the Phaedrus, the Gorgias, the Laws, and then depending upon the Symposium, and then depending upon if you do a directed study, some of the other Platonic dialogues. For Aristotle, we have an entire class dedicated to the ethics, but you also read the Politics, the De Anima, the Poetics, the Rhetoric, and we have an entire class dedicated to the Trivium. So you read the 6 books in the Organon of Aristotle. For St. Augustine, we read the Confessions. That is one of the most favorite books among the honor students, is the Confessions. And in fact, if there is perhaps the most ecumenically loved book, it is the Confessions. That is a book that a Catholic, a Reformed Presbyterian, and an Orthodox can all just have such love and appreciation for. That is, I think, one of the most loved books. But in addition to that, there's the opportunity to read On Free Choice of the Will, which is one of my favorite books by St. Augustine, on Christian doctrine, some of the soliloquies, and of course, the City of God. And then for St. Thomas Aquinas, it is mostly excerpts from the Summa Theologiae. There is no way you can read that entire work, in just a class. So we have to do selections, but we often emphasize the divine attributes of God, Aquinas's 5 proofs of God, discussion of God's intellect and God's will, the names of God. We go over the treatise on law, and we emphasize Aquinas on the 4 cardinal virtues and the 3 theological virtues. In literature, if there are 2 cornerstone thinkers, it would be Dante and Shakespeare. So there's an entire class dedicated to the Divine Comedy. And then we have several classes on Shakespeare. The required Shakespeare class is actually on the Roman tragedies, which throws people off. But the Roman tragedies also expose statesmanship, and they really do address the theme of love in those plays. We have a class on the Henriade, and then of course we have a class on Hamlet and King Lear and some of the more famous plays of Shakespeare. When I think of what the students like to read for fun, here are the 5 most popular authors that the students read for fun. The first is C.S. Lewis, unsurprising, right? But we've had students write senior theses on the Space Trilogy or on the Abolition of Man, some of his more apologetic works. The second favorite author would be J.R.R. Tolkien. There are many students who advocate that Tolkien should be considered part of the canon, and that's becoming, a more common view, I suppose. The third is Jane Austen. One of the great stories I heard is there was an honors girl who only ever knew women to like Jane Austen. And she met her husband on orientation week when her husband or now husband, said that he loved reading Pride and Prejudice. And so Belmont Abbey is this weird place where you'll have men who gush over Lizzie Bennet walking 3 miles in the plains, or in the farmland, excuse me. The fourth most popular thinker is Fyodor Dostoevsky. We have a Russian specialist in the English department, Dr. Svetlana Corwin, who loves Dostoevsky. And so for fun, the students will read Dostoevsky's short works. They had for a while a reading group where they would read a short story once a week, and then they would discuss it and people would bring food. It was a lot of fun. And then the fifth most popular author is probably Charles Dickens. That is a very popular author, even though I'm embarrassed to say this, especially now that it's going to get recorded. Charles Dickens is not in the honors curriculum, right? Every curriculum is going to have some massive gaping hole, and I guess that is the honors college not having Dickens. But our students love David Copperfield, Great Expectations, Oliver Twist. What else? What else? All right, so Jeremy asks, what great books should we read for general knowledge? So I'm going to answer this in two parts. First, I'm going to answer the question you didn't ask, and that is for anyone who's afraid that they're not smart enough to enter into the honors college, you don't need to know a whole lot coming into the honors college because we'll teach it to you. So when we teach you Homer and Virgil, we don't expect you to know all the different stories, although that's, of course, very helpful. But when I think of what a general person should read, there are certain books that are best read under the guidance of a particular teacher, and I think that would be the case of Plato's Republic and the Ethics, where those are harder lifts to read on one's own, and it can be quite easy to get a very funky interpretation if you're not reading it with someone who's an expert. But I recommend everyone reading The Apology of Socrates. That is just a beautiful rendition, a beautiful defense of philosophy, and the union of rhetoric and philosophy in the Apology. It's also a good example of making one's argument in a charitable manner. I think everyone should read the Iliad and the Odyssey. I think these are very powerful works. I know there's the old joke that the Iliad is for the boys and the Odyssey is for the girls, and yeah, that does play out. But the Odyssey is a philosophical work. I think the more one reads the Odyssey, there's always more and more fascinating things that are going on in the Odyssey. And Odysseus, I do think, is somewhat of a philosopher. And even the Iliad has philosophy in it. It's not just a great war story, but there is a real judgment being made about the differences between the Trojans and the differences among the Greeks, and what types of characters the Trojan regime produces, and what types of characters the Greeks produce. That there are certain virtues that the Greeks do manifest, and that there are certain virtues that the Trojans manifest too, as well as some obvious vices. I think a great work that high schoolers should read is Cicero. I think reading On Duties is a great work. Boethius's Consolation of Philosophy is a fantastic work. And I think for high schoolers, St. Augustine's Confessions, because it is autobiographical. I know some people struggle in the first book, but the honesty and the vulnerability that St. Augustine puts forward in the Confessions, I'm not sure has been matched. 1,500 years later. I would recommend high schoolers read Shakespeare. Um, especially, the famous plays like King Lear and Othello, but any play of Shakespeare is worth reading. And then in the American tradition, I think it's worthwhile to read the United States Constitution. One of the differences of emphasis in our curriculum would be that the curriculum of Belmont Abbey emphasizes political science or political philosophy, that your regime, your country matters. And that love of country is well ordered. So long as you love your country proportionally, it is well ordered. So reading the Constitution, reading the short stories of Nathaniel Hawthorne. I think Hawthorne is underrated. And of course, I'm a Southern Catholic, so I have to say Flannery O'Connor is great too. What else? What else?
Might be tapping out.
Okay. Well, Dr. Bianco, thank you so much for hosting Belmont Abbey today. Thank you very much for your remarks. And for everyone watching live or uh, watching as a recorded video, the monks of Belmont Abbey are praying for you. I really do hope that you find the college that is best for you. Just follow the Holy Spirit, and no one can beat God. So just follow the Holy Spirit, and everything will turn out all right. Thank you, and God bless.
Good advice, Dr. Barry Kelly. Hey, so just for the people that are watching the recording, because they won't get to see the chat box there. So the most memorable email address for people to easily remember is honorscollege@bac.edu.
Yes.
All right. So if anybody has any question for you, they can email honorscollege@bac.edu, and that will get to you.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you for joining us and taking all those questions. And those of you, you guys asked some really good questions there. So I appreciate our attendees too. That's some really good questions, thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys made your schools and your teachers look very good. Thank you very much, guys.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, take care. Have a good evening, everybody. Thanks, Dr. Barry Kelly.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bianco. Thank you, everyone.